As a fearful avoidant, you probably don't have a fear of commitment or a fear of abandonment, but mostly a fear of connection. And yet you crave deep connection. That makes total sense. And you are the most capable of having deep connection. I am Pauline and I am so happy you are here because on this channel we talk about all things fearful avoidant, and connection is kind of central to the whole fearful avoidant attachment style and the healing of it. Because connection for fearful avoidance is what they are usually most afraid of. So, where dismissive avoidants are most afraid of commitment and anxious preoccupied most afraid of abandonment, this is very generalized and very black and white, obviously. Um, the fearful avoidant attachment style is pretty much signified by a fear of connection. And yet, that is what we crave. That is what we kind of want and seek out. Um, we're just also very scared of it. And that kind of explains why we go back and forth and are so confused most of the time. So, if you want deep connection, that is so absolutely logical and it is possible. You are maybe even more than all other attachment styles capable of deep connection. There's just some things we need to heal and do. So, let's dive into those. When you think about connection, you probably think about boundaries, right? No, probably not. Boundaries are not very logical thing to think about when you think about connection. Connection feels like being one and um, feeling so close to each other. And boundaries feel like you are keeping somebody at a distance. It can feel cold and selfish, actually, to put up boundaries if you've never learned that that is a healthy thing to do. So, why are boundaries important for connection? Just imagine that you are not capable of and feel comfortable with putting up boundaries. And so whenever you say yes to something, you have to do all of it. Just imagine that a friend says, "Okay, let's go on this adventure today. Are you in?" And you say yes, and then afterwards you feel like you can't say no to anything. And that friend takes you on the craziest adventure with so many things that you don't want to do. And yet you do them because you don't know how to say no. Will you go on an adventure with that friend again? Probably not, because you have been so uncomfortable for a lot of the time at doing things you really don't want to do, robbing a bank. I'm just saying things like things that really don't feel good for you. So now, if you look at relationships, just imagine the area of intimacy. If your partner approaches you and initiates any type of intimacy, it could be just kissing or stroking you or just being kind and caressing you. If you feel like you can't say no anywhere down the line, you might say no to even kissing or holding hands or stroking each other just because you don't want to have sex right now. And that is what a lot of fearful avoidants actually do in different areas in the relationship. It is so important to know and to feel somewhat comfortable with putting up boundaries every single step of the way, because otherwise you're just not going to go down that road. If you know that I can say no at any point, you can just go with it and go with the flow and just see whether, you end up wanting to have sex or not, and both are equally fine. So boundaries are so important to be able to be in the moment, because otherwise your brain is going to go to, do I want this? Do I want the end stage of this? Do I want to have sex or not? Uh and if I don't, oh shit, that's not going to work. How are they going to feel about it? How is my partner going to feel about this? Whereas if you can set up boundaries, you are able to be in the moment and just enjoy whatever is happening in the moment. And what happens down the line, you will see then, because a no is a very legitimate thing to say at any point. So boundaries are so important for that connection because it allows you to actually enjoy what is happening right now. Another thing that is really important to be able to have a deep connection is allowing all your feelings. And just as fearful avoidants have usually not been brought up with the idea that boundaries are just normal and healthy and respected, feelings are not normal and healthy and to be respected. A lot of fearful avoidants grow up learning that they have to suppress their emotions, they have to have certain emotions and can definitely not have other emotions or feelings. So for a lot of fearful avoidance, there are certain emotions and feelings that are just not accepted, that would lead to rejection, abandonment, or anger or abuse. And then you start to have this very cramped, or how do you say that, tense relationship with your feelings, um, where whenever a feeling comes up that has so many negative associations, you tense up completely and you don't want to feel this feeling, and your fear brain is kicking into high gear and thinking, I can't feel this feeling. What is causing this feeling? Is it my relationship? And then you start doubting your relationship. So if you are kind of at war with your feelings, it is really, 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 really hard to allow deep connection, because being in deep connection brings up feelings. And it is so normal and so human to feel the whole range of feelings and emotions. So we want to only feel the happy and positive feelings, but it is so normal and important to be able to feel all of the feelings, because deep connection is not uh, deep for no reason. It asks a lot of you, um, and that can be very beautiful. But if you don't allow all of your feelings, anytime any feeling comes up that you are uncomfortable with, you will pull away from the connection. You will break the connection, because to your fear brain it feels like this connection is what's causing this feeling, even though it's probably just triggering feelings from when you were younger. So knowing that all your feelings are okay, you are allowed to feel all feelings, but also being comfortable with all feelings, from the intense pleasurable amazing feelings to the very dark and hard to feel feelings. If you are able to feel that complete range and allow all of those feelings without trying judging them or trying to suppress them or trying to push them away or trying to fix them, you will automatically allow more deep connection, which is so incredibly fulfilling. Then another thing is that embracing and accepting the parts of you that you don't like is actually also necessary for deep connection. Not necessarily for connection, because connection is still very much possible, even if there are parts of you that you kind of hide or suppress. But if we're talking about full, deep connection, it is pretty hard to allow that when you have parts of you that you don't like and you want to hide, because deep connection kind of requires you to be all out in the open. And if you, even if you just know that there are parts of you that you are hiding or that you don't like or that you don't accept, you will never allow deep connection. You will always push people away before you get to that point, because you're so afraid that they will see this thing in you that you have been trying so hard to hide or suppress. So working on healing those parts that you don't like. I mean, you don't have to like everything about yourself, but embracing them and knowing that you are completely lovable as a whole package, so not just the good parts, that is very important. Being willing and able to be all out in the open, everything, all the beautiful parts, the messy parts, um, and knowing that you are worthy of love regardless, that is what is needed for deep connection, because otherwise you will not allow it. You will break away before you hit that point. And then another really important part is to heal negative associations around connection. If you've been brought up with a parent, a fearful avoidant parent, who also is very fearful of connection, you will probably have a lot of experience where there was connection and that parent broke the connection in whatever way. And fearful avoidance can be pretty emotionally volatile and intense. So that could be through anger, lashing out, becoming really, really critical with you. So I have multiple memories where I would have a beautiful moment with my dad, who I looked up to so much. And looking back on it, I see that those were moments of connection. Back then I didn't know. And he would just have this startled reaction and then say something harsh or mean or push me away. And he had no idea that was what was happening, or that he was doing that. He just reacted instantly to something that he felt, which was fear, probably. But what I learned is that connection is very unsafe and very scary, and being vulnerable, because that's what connection also asks of you, is also very unsafe. So healing all those negative associations around connection is very important to be able to allow connection, because otherwise you will reenact the same reaction that your parent had when you felt connection to your parent. And it is, I just want to make clear, it is very much possible to heal those negative associations, because connection is a natural thing. We are all wired for it. Every single human being on the planet is wired for it. It is in our core, and that is something that will never change, can never be broken, can never be taken away. So it's not that because you have negative associations around connection that you are broken and you will never be able to feel connection. That is just not true. That ability to connect is inside you always. There's just maybe layers of pain and fear, but we can heal that. We can definitely heal that. Another thing is you have to be able to be present in the moment. And this comes kind of back to, you have to be able to allow all your feelings. If we are not able to allow all our feelings, our brains will go to the future or the past. So you will start thinking about things that happened in the past. Or you will start thinking, oh, what if this doesn't work out? What would happen in the future? So whenever you notice yourself thinking about the future or the past, you're definitely not in the moment. And the more you do that, the more you are with your head in the future or the past, the harder you probably find it to be present in the moment. So being able to be really present with everything that is in the moment, with all your feelings, with the connection that is there or isn't there, with your partner's feelings, that is important to be able to have really deep connection. But that is not something that you can demand of yourself right now. If you have a lot of pain, if you have a lot of negative associations around connection and all of this, it is so logical that it's hard to be present in the moment. So this is more like a roadmap to where you might want to go in healing the things that keep you from deep connection. It is so normal and logical that you crave it. Don't ever make yourself wrong for that. And you are capable of deep connection, and maybe even more so than the other attachments. I mean, everybody is capable of connection and deep connection. But I think the fearful avoidant seeks it out the most, because you are kind of used to intense feelings, because the fearful avoidant attachment style is one of the most emotionally intense, emotionally volatile ones. So you have that capability of having intense emotions or intense feelings, and that is what deep connection will give you. So I think even more than the other attachment styles. So it's not that because you have a fear of connection that you are the most broken in this area. That's not true at all. I think you actually seek it out the most, and there's just some things that need to be healed. And need to be learned to be able to allow that deep connection. But you are very much capable of deep connection. And when you watch this video, definitely to the end, you are much more likely to experience this in your lifetime. And that is just something that is so exciting, because deep connection is one of the most fulfilling and nurturing things that you can experience. So healing, and healing the fearful avoidant attachment style obviously is a big part of this. Healing things, connections, associations around connection will definitely help you to allow deep connection. And that is what I wish for you. That is what we're doing in the online program Healed and Happy. Just because I wish for you that you get to experience this, because it is there for you. I am so happy you are here, and I will see you in the next one.
Healed and Happy is a tailor-made online program where me and my team personally guide you through healing the roots of the fearful avoidant attachment style.